Hey guys, first regardsman here, and I'll be talking about the best starting builds to level up your Techmarine in Space Marine 2 past 12.0. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, leveling up the Techmarine can be a little rough. A lot of his best perks are at the very bottom of his tree. Things like Omniscience Fury to set enemies on fire, things like Plasma Enhancement for fat AoE. You really won't get these for like 99% of your leveling experience, which does kind of suck, but that being said, there are some easier ways to circumvent this, and he does have some great perks right off the bat, like Arc Cleave. This is one of the best melee perks in the entire game. Despite it not seeming that good initially, it says the damage from charged melee attacks increases by 25%. This is a 25% multiplicative damage buff to some of the heaviest hitting attacks in the entire game. Things like Power Backstep on the Power Axe, things like Shadow Stab on the Combat Knife, and even some of the Power Discharge attacks on the Omniscient Axe. Now, I'll go over the best melee weapon choices in a bit, but for now, if you are somebody that probably wants to level up your Omniscient Axe, which I imagine most people will, the best option for this would just be buy the heroic weapon as soon as possible, because the sooner you get this, the faster your whole leveling grind on this weapon will be. The thing about heroic weapons in Space Marine 2 is that you can use them right off the bat from purchase, even if you only have like a standard issue tier of the normal weapon, and that means that you have relic tier stats attached to this weapon on top of the fact that you can level the entire way up the tree with this version. So it's going to make your life a lot easier, and that really is the best opportunity to level up your Omniscient Axe until you have the higher tier options. Now, for the Techmarine's ranged weapons, these are a little bit different from the melee in that you do not have a unique option for him here. These are all in base game classes, so Auto Bolt Rifle, Heavy Bolt Rifle, and Plasma Incinerator. These are all available on Tactical, and Oculus Carbine is from Vanguard. Now, this patch, we do have something a little bit different though, and that is the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. Now, currently, this is, in my opinion, the best gun for Techmarine besides the Oculus Carbine, but the big benefit here is that just like the Omniscient Axe, you can purchase a heroic option for this and just have that relic tier stat on top of what is pretty much the best heavy bolt rifle option in the game anyways, because this one has an underbarrel grenade launcher attached to it, and for the Techmarine especially, that will assist not only your damage but also your CHP recovery, because the way that grenades work in Space Marine 2 is that when you fire them off, they will just give you back a chunk of your HP for your contested health, like immediately, and that is a very valuable effect, especially for a class that is so damn squishy like this one. So I do think currently, if you're trying to level up your Techmarine, the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle is probably the best option. And one other thing about this gun is that it is available on Heavy and Tactical, and that way you can level it up for these classes if you haven't already. So really beneficial there for like a catch-all. And I know there are a lot of new players that are trying to level up all their classes, not just Techmarine. So if you pick this one up, you have this heroic option, you can swap this across all of them. And if we're being honest, the Heavy Bolt Rifle does kind of suck to level up on its own anyways, so getting this option immediately and having the best option for the Heavy Bolt Rifle is a really great choice. Now, guns I would avoid would be things like the Plasma Incinerator here, mainly because this gun just does not perform remotely as well on Techmarine as it does on Tactical. Tactical has the perk here, Plasma Boost, that gives him a major benefit to this. There is nothing like this on the Techmarine. I really do think this is probably Techmarine's worst weapon right now, so I would probably skip it entirely. And other options like Auto Bolt Rifle are okay, but just not remotely as good as the Heavy Bolt Rifle heroic variant currently. And the Oculus Carbine ×2 headshot multiplier version is very powerful, but does get significantly better once you go down further into the tree with a long range barrage perk, and this is not available for quite some time, and I do think the Heavy Bolt Rifle does just remain the overall best option. But you know, if you want to level up something different, if you want to use a different weapon, you can definitely do that. You should play whatever you want in this game. I just suggest the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle because I think this makes up for the major shortcomings of the Techmarine, which are his lack of contested health recovery and his lack of overall AoE damage in his ranged weapon kits, because really most of his range damage comes from the servo gun, and you don't get access to that until things like the Plasma Enhancement for like major AoE capabilities, or things like Omniscience Fury for that burn damage. So having this option there right off the bat is really nice, and the only thing you have to do to actually purchase this weapon is just get those first 300 accolades and buy them in the heroic store. So really easy to obtain on top of all of that, which is why I suggest this one. But like I said, use whatever you like. Now, as far as these secondary weapons go, you can really take whatever you want here as well. The secondary weapons on Techmarine are actually less important than you might think, because first of all, your servo gun strikes, they do not take your secondary weapon into account, because the way the Techmarine works is that when you are not having your servo gun class ability active firing off on enemies, you will be using your servo gun for gun strikes all the time, and that gun strike damage is independent of your secondary weapon, and because of that, your secondary weapon choice is a little bit more varied than you might expect, because usually players like to pick up heavy bolt pistols, heroic heavy bolt pistols, plasma, because these guns have high gun strike damage or AoE gun strike damage. But here you can take things like the Neo Volkite, you could take things like the Inferno pistol. Just like the Vanguard class, you don't have to worry as much about the CHP recovery of your secondary because you already have a primary weapon, and CHP recovery is really covered by the heavy bolt rifle here, so a really great option for you to just pick up whatever you want in the secondary. There was a bug on the PTS here where the Inferno pistol would limit the maximum range of your servo gun strikes. I'm pretty sure that will be fixed, but as far as the other options go, Plasma pistol still top tier. Neo Volkite did get buffed this patch. Inferno pistol gun strike damage also got buffed this patch. I would set them up this way for the Inferno pistol, this way for the Neo Volkite. Plasma pistol is pretty standard as always at the rate of fire variant, and then also for the heavy bolt pistol, I would set it up this way, and for the standard bolt pistol, I would set it up this way. You know, all of this is up to you. Now, some other things I want to mention here in the perk tree, and also just the overall playstyle of Techmarine to help you level, is you should be taking advantage of your Tarantula sentry guns. Your starting perk here says you can detect and activate Tarantula sentry guns. They will attack nearby enemies until they run out of ammo or are destroyed. Now, these will help you punch up in difficulty where other classes might struggle, mainly because they are found pretty much everywhere in operations, especially against Tyranids. Tyranids don't like to range spam you as much as like Chaos does, so you have a pretty easy time setting up these turrets, getting free damage, saving yourself ammo because of the damage they're doing for free, and on top of that, you do get some access to turret perks right off the bat with things like Reinforced Position that give you a huge buff if you're around these turrets. So really nice to play around them. I think that is part of the intended leveling experience. Now, unfortunately on Techmarine, like I said before, your servo gun does kind of suck until you have access to things like Omniscience Fury. It's better than it was before, but it's still just like not quite at like the perfect level, so I would probably prioritize your Tarantula sentry guns at first. And also prioritize anything that allows you to parry an enemy and do a power wave on your power axe, because really guys, if you haven't leveled up your power axe already, you should, because this weapon is incredible and the balanced version is better than ever. And on top of that, being able to parry enemies and deal free damage with a 25% multiplicative damage buff, that will help you on all factions, but especially Tyranids. And Tyranids are what you should probably be fighting first, because Tyranids are, number one, easier, and also just number two, they range spam you less initially, and range spam is something this guy does struggle fighting against at times, and the horde clear capabilities of your grenade launcher go up against them significantly more than Chaos. So I would suggest fighting Tyranids with these build setups, though to be honest, most players in Space Marine 2 prefer Tyranids anyways, so they'll probably be fighting them regardless of what I say. Now, as far as a example setup goes, for your heroic heavy bolt rifle, I would prioritize the bottom tree first here, mainly starting off with extended magazine into perks here like increased capacity. These perks will up the total ammunition you have for your bolt proportion on top of your grenades, so really good to have. And really, don't worry about not having all the perks just yet. Just prioritize these ammunition ones, because the Techmarine's ammo economy is just not that strong, so having these earlier is far better in my opinion. Now, for the secondary option, like I said before, you can use whatever you want, but I would prioritize the heavy bolt pistol and plasma pistol. Now, the heavy bolt pistol has a heroic variant if you don't have the other ones leveled up, and you can also just level these all on other classes if you want, but I do think these are still the two best. I would set up this one this way, like I said before, and this one this way, like I said before. Now, the rate of fire plasma pistol is still the best one overall, mainly because charge rate matters a ton for this weapon. It'll help you out with your contested health recovery. It'll also help you out with stagger and damage, so definitely grab this one. The ammo economy on your secondary doesn't matter too much for this class, mainly because you already have a primary. Now, for your melee weapon, like I said before, I would prioritize the balanced power axe. I think the balanced one is going to help out a lot of players, because balanced parry windows may kind of suck, but parrying in this game in general, I think, is easier for players than block. So if you're brand new, if you're trying to level up your Techmarine, this would be a good choice. I would probably avoid the power sword, mainly because this weapon is just the weakest of the bunch. It's not bad by any means, just not quite where it should be, in my opinion. And the combat knife is good, but probably hard to use for most players, because the best options are basing on like perfect dodges and stuff like that for their damage. And the Omniscient axe is obviously a brand new weapon and probably the hardest to use of all of these. So if you're trying to level this up, Just be aware, there's a bit of a learning curve to this one, and the power axe is definitely easier. But that's pretty much all there is for this setup, guys. Hopefully this gave you an idea of what you want to use for your Techmarine. There is no like one perfect build to level up your Techmarine. It does depend on your playstyle, what you're fighting, what your teammates are playing, and just how you enjoy to play the game yourself. But hopefully this helped you, and if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, take it easy. Thanks for watching. Bye.